Cookie here. It's the Pat and JT podcast.
Pat and JT podcast.
A couple weird stories if you want to get to it.
Let's dive into the weird.
One is about an 8-year-old that was adopted and turned out she was 22. And another one was about...
Okay, hold on a second. Welcome to our podcast. Start with that one. So we roll down like the things we may talk about on the podcast, and you drop that. You're like, these are things you may be interested in. 8-year-old who's adopted, and they find out she's 22. I think we're interested in that.
Okay, all right. Now, you may have seen the movie. It's called Orphan.
Oh, it's a scary movie.
Yeah.
Terrifying.
You remember that one?
I've never seen it, but I remember the trailer scared me enough not to ever see the movie.
Orphan is practically, it's just like wrote the script for this woman's life, or vice versa. Art imitates life, life imitates art, however it works. But anyway, it was a girl who was adopted, and turned out she was a wholly evil little bee, and she was a full-grown woman, but she appeared as a child. Okay. In this case, this woman is in Indiana, and her name's Christine. And she and her now ex-husband, Michael, they've been through some crap. They were charged earlier this month with a couple counts of neglect after they allegedly abandoned their foster daughter. Previously, they had been on a pedestal for their parenting. They had even been on, did a TED Talk. One of their children, their son Jake, autistic and a well-known math prodigy, and they talked about raising a child with these kind of special needs. He was brilliant, and he was challenged on both, so they were struggling with both.
Okay.
And anyway, this all started. Actually, it wasn't long after they did the TED Talk, and that they had, according to authorities, abandoned a child, their adopted 9-year-old Ukrainian daughter, Natalia, in a newly rented apartment, and then they fled the country and went to Canada.
Good Lord. So
now she's telling her side of the story. And again, this is where Orphan comes in, because you're like, holy smokes, she gets adopted. Turns out she's a homicidal adult. And what the hell's going on? So this is exactly what it was. They said that she and her husband at the time were asked to take on this little girl in an emergency adoption in Florida back in 2010. They were given just 24 hours to complete the paperwork. And they were held up on that pedestal because they had fostered other children, adopted other children. And so they were well known to the agencies. And so they did. The couple were told at the time she was 6, but she looked younger because she suffered from a form of dwarfism. And it also causes some vision problems, they said, and shortness in stature, and had a Ukrainian birth certificate, but almost no other information about her background. Okay. And said that she was really nervous and she was going to need a lot of support. And they're like, okay. And they noticed immediately in the parking lot she couldn't walk. There was nothing in the paperwork that said she couldn't walk. She had a wheelchair. She had a walker. They took her to the beach. Weird stuff started happening. This was a little while into the adoption. And they said that the boys, their other children, were running around, tearing around, rushing into the water, and she wanted to be carried into the ocean. And I take it she was 6, 7 at the time. And they were physically exhausted. So they said, they got everybody down to the beach. They were setting everything up. Just hold on just a second and we'll take you down there. And they said with that, she got up and ran into the ocean. She couldn't walk a second ago. She hadn't walked at all in their presence.
That's messed up.
And there were other obvious indicators.
What?
The first time she saw her daughter naked when she wanted to give her a bath, she was a little more developed than you would expect.
She had a penis?
No.
Oh, like bigger boobs. Got it.
Well, that and other stuff.
Okay. Oh.
Okay.
Never mind. I was in the wrong book, wrong page. We are in the same chapter, same page. I went a completely different direction with that.
You're trying to make this even weirder than it is. Come on.
Yeah. Sorry.
And she only wanted to hang out with older girls. She didn't like toys. She didn't have an accent.
Well, yeah, she was 32. That's why she's
right?
family.
And what's more, she didn't act like a kid. She says, I remember at the time she had kids that came in kind of like a daycare. And she said in so many words, these children are exhausting. I don't know how you do it. She's 8.
As she puffs on her cigarette. Listen, I have no idea. Flicks her cherry in the water bowl.
Red flags. Red flag. Red flag. I don't know. They said she's 8. I don't know. So they go to the doctor, eventually at the family physician and ordered bone density tests and some other things with the doctor. So the doctor was running these tests, and he guesstimated 14 at the time.
Still undershot it a little bit, huh?
Still undershot it. And she says they tried to adapt to the idea that actually they have a teenager. But it was harder to actually decipher how old she actually was. Anyway, things got downright creepy eventually. She recalls listening to what sounded like Natalia attacking a child when she was listening on the baby monitor. And it was actually a doll that she was like attacking. It was like as if, God, if only this doll was somebody else, so to
she was
speak.
angry, yeah.
And she'd make statements and draw pictures about wanting to kill the family, roll them up in a blanket and put them in the backyard. And then one night she woke up and the little girl was standing over her in the middle of the night.
Yeah, that'd be it. You stand over me one time. Bennett did that to me one time. He was having a dream. He sleptwalked.
So he didn't even know he was doing it.
No, he was sleepwalking, and he was having a dream. And I think I told this story on the air. And he leaned over me, and I'm laying in bed, and he on my forehead, and I looked down. He was right about 4 inches from me, just staring at me. And I sat up and whacked him in the head. He has no memory of it. He was sleepwalking.
How old was he when that happened, do you think?
Probably 10. But you do that once, I get it. Sleepwalking twice, you're throat punched and kicked out.
And you're in an apartment in Cincinnati and Pat's in Canada.
Couldn't do it. That's a terrifying fear of mine is wake up and see someone leaning over staring at you. I don't care if you love them and know them.
Take note, Beth.
Right. I've asked her if I ever did that to her. I'm like, what would you do? She's like, I'd kill you. You'd be dead.
That's it. Instant reaction.
Pop.
So after that happened, then they started hiding the sharp objects, et cetera, and it finally led to the point where they rented an apartment.
I'm sorry, if you're having
they
hide
left
sharp object, I wouldn't do that necessarily, but like if you're hiding sharp objects from somebody that lives in your house, that's a huge problem.
And they called the agencies wouldn't help.
Sure.
They couldn't prove to them that she wasn't as advertised, so to speak. They were told this was
Well, I don't know, she's in menopause. So maybe that's good enough. And the emergency adoption situation. Like I've heard of situations where a
emergency
foster all day long. Like you need help, let's get this done. But emergency adoption, you have 24 hours. That should have been good heart or not. You should have stopped for a second and said, this sounds awful fishy.
It does. But it was in Florida.
Okay.
So, there's that.
I feel bad. I feel bad for Natalia.
Do you really?
Allegedly. I mean,
I don't know where Natalia is now. They didn't cover that in the rest of the story. I don't know because now I have no idea.
Who knows?
She's like,
she gone.
I don't know. What's the name of the retirement place down in Florida?
Shady Acres?
No. What's the name?
The Villages?
She's at the Villages probably. By now. I don't know.
In a Bjorn in front of somebody while they're golfing. That lady in that Bjorn looks awful old.
It's her grandchild. Leave me alone. Jeez. Anyway, okay, so I have on a more serious note, not super serious, but kind of serious. Oh, God. Okay, so I was moving some clothes from one area to another. I have some that I wanted to donate, some I was going to get rid of. You know how you do that? The purge, right? I was going through everything. And I did this actually several months ago. I've talked about this, that I still need to get all these clothes out of my spare bedroom and take them donate them.
Right.
And so along with that, there were some clothes that were in a box and some bags, etc. And somehow, one of the bags, I spilled some coffee. Let's just say that. I spilled some coffee. It was in the back of the car. Oh. And I didn't know that there was coffee in that mug because it was one of those that you can shut. And so it was shut. That didn't stop it from leaking.
Yeah.
So there was still some, not a lot, but enough that it soaked the bottom of the bag. Bottom of the bag, this was actually a bag of clothes I wanted. Oh. And I had made the mistake when I saw the stuff on the top of the bag. I was like, oh, those aren't supposed to go away. Those are things that okay, whatever. So I unpack them, and at the bottom is a white rayon blouse, completely coffee colored now.
And you liked that blouse?
Yeah.
Okay.
Took it to the cleaners, and he laughed at me.
Really? Didn't even try? Didn't even take your money?
He wouldn't even take my money. He said, I'm not. It literally said, I'm not going to take your money because I can't help you.
Wow.
I go, what am I supposed to do?
Is it pure white? Can you bleach it?
It says dry clean only.
Okay, but if it's between that and throw away, I would try something besides dry clean only.
So I'm wondering,
try it
with coffee, Is there like vinegar? Some said vinegar. I want to know what it's going to take and how much work is it going to be.
OxyClean works for a lot of stuff. Do you have OxyClean?
I don't.
Do you put in? I'll bring you. No big deal. We've got some, and I will bring you a scoop of it.
Do you want me to? How about this? How about we'll do it here? I'll bring the shirt.
It's got to go in the wash machine though.
Oh, not on TV. They just put it in a bowl.
That's right. Sorry. Okay, we can do it here. Let's do it here. That's fine. I'll bring.
If I have to put it in the wash, I'll put it in the wash.
Because honestly, if you're gonna throw it, if it doesn't work out, you're gonna throw it away anyway. So let's just try it.
Let's see if it does anything.
Right.
I'm just curious.
OxyClean is amazing.
I've used it on other things.
It takes
and you're
out
right. It does.
You take out it takes out the funk of a 16-year-old boy like that. So hopefully it can put a dent in the coffee.
I'll see if I can. I'll do that. We'll
right,
give
I'll
that
bring
a shot.
I'll bring
I
it
was
in.
so mad at myself.
Well, yeah.
There's nothing. I'm like,
I know what we can do.
dumb. Totally dumb.
But it is frustrating when you find a shirt or something that you like and it either bleach. Beth loves the smell of bleach because it's like smells like clean.
Yeah.
And I don't.
It also burns the hair off your nose.
Right,
Too.
right.
Your
But
nostrils.
she likes that because it knows that it's clean. But I don't like using bleach because a couple of times I've ruined shirts or whatever that I've had on because bleach is splashed up on me or something. So I don't know. I hear your frustration about ruining a shirt or something you like.
That's so bad. That is so bad. So, yep. All right. So we'll try that.
We got a couple text messages,
Yeah.
402-403-9478. Let me bring up our little voice.
I've got one right here real quick while you're grabbing that. Lori said, so glad you guys brought up the Carson King story. Oh, okay. That was the Carson King 25 Venmo making money for Iowa.
Listen to the previous episode for the whole story. It's awesome.
I'm sure in the last 24 hours, more stuff has happened. But one thing she just said, and it's true, the people have lost the ability to forgive others, especially everybody just wants to shut everybody down.
Yep.
Anheuser-Busch could have had a little more patience. I think so too. I think maybe, you know what? Let's wait till we see the transcript. I'm just going to say. Just a word of warning.
Oh my God.
Anyway, I'm just kidding. But anyway,
No,
just
you're not.
wait until you see and see what really happened. And then go forward from there. He was 16 on top of it, and we know that. So, Lori, thank you for that note. Appreciate it.
So this came in from Abby, a text. And it must be, I don't know what it's from, but it's like when I send you texts and they're all screwed up because I have an iPhone and you have an Android, it comes in all different.
His come in like one, not even a whole sentence at a time, but it's like, say 10 words or 8 words. And even if it's long text, it breaks it into individual bubbles. And they're never in order.
If you either have an iPhone or an Android and you communicate with somebody that has the opposite, you understand what she's talking about.
Mine do the same to yours, don't they?
Yes, a lot of times, yes. Because Beth has some friends that have Androids, and when they text her, she has to like deconstruct the message.
I always, anymore when I text you, I write the whole message. Then I make the screen whole, take out the keyboard. Then I just do a screen capture and I send you the picture.
That's a pro tip because I never thought about doing that until you did that. It's brilliant. Okay, so it says, hello, my name's Abby. So I'm going to read it slowly because it's really screwed up.
Okay.
Hi, my name's Abby, and I had to reply right away when I heard on today's podcast that you were searching for decent happy hours in Omaha. We talked about that a couple days ago with Dan and
Describe
Aaron.
decent too, by the way.
Decent, it says that include free food, and she wanted to share something that she had learned. What? Okay, I heard on today's podcast that you were searching for decent happy hours in Omaha that includes free food, and I have to share something I just learned of 2 weeks ago. Mr. Toad's downtown, which I have been to Mr. Toad's many times when I was younger, 10th and Howard, apparently has has free pizza on Fridays while supplies last. I left work late that Friday and alas, no pizza after 6:30. But trust me, there was pizza. So good luck on your search. So Mr. Toad, free pizza on Fridays until it lasts.
Very good.
Or until it doesn't last.
Could you look under notifications on our Facebook page? There was one from Craig.
Okay.
And he talked about a specific episode, something about the slow down, speed up. While you're doing that, I'll tell you one more funny story.
Okay, sounds good.
Actually, I got 2, but I'll just go with this one right now. Both are dog related too, by the way.
Okay, that's cool.
Saw this story, and we've talked about this before. That they've talked about when people walk their dogs and not picking up the poo. That it's just not right. You can't do that. But more and more apartment complexes, condominium areas, homeowners type situation are enforcing this to the point of DNA. So when you move in, if you have a dog, you have to register the dog's DNA.
Wow.
And then if poo is found, they will run the poo
Really?
to find out whose dog it is.
That is crazy.
And then there will be a fine. Significant fine too, they're finding out. But there was a place in Idaho. This is about a guy in Idaho with his dogs Rufus and Mac that together weigh about 250 pounds. And a lot of rejections. Finally found a place that would take him, but that was the deal. You come in, we got to have the DNA. Okay, well, fine. We'll go ahead and do it. And the whole thing was, this is the funny part, is there's not just one company, but at least two that will deconstruct the DNA and determine who it is. One is called Poo Prints, and the other is Mr. Dog Poop. And BioPet Laboratories operates Poo Prints, and under their supervision, what you do is you swipe their mouth to get their DNA, and that goes into Poo Prints. And there is a World Pet Registry for DNA. And they can, it's very similar to 23andMe, by the way.
Really? Wow.
Seriously. And they can investigate the dog poop, and they can even dismiss any kind of, like, if you're trying to mess with them, if it's not dog, they know if it's not dog. So don't try and mess with them and send them something else.
That's pretty legit. I mean, people spend a lot of money to find out who pooped in the yard and didn't pick it up.
So right now they claim to serve over 4,000 properties across the United States, and over 350,000 dogs have been registered. And that's just at Poo Prints. Mr. Dog Poop won't talk.
Yeah.
They aren't revealing their clients.
Their privacy policy is a little stricter.
But the fine for this at most places, some as little as 100, most are around $350.
It's legit. There are a lot of people walking their animals in their dogs and one cat, which is hilarious, in our neighborhood.
I love that.
And I have yet to see somebody that's not carrying a bag to pick up poop. So it's good to see responsible pet walkers.
It is. But just be aware. They're out there.
I found Craig.
Okay.
Craig said, I just stumbled upon Pure Gold with Nick Baugh's podcast. I was listening to the latest with Dirk Chatlin, which was last week. 7 days ago from right now. 2 episodes ago for Nick. And at the very end, they talked about how Dirk listens to pods at time and a half speed.
Right.
A little bit to
He's not alone. That's apparently pro tip, man. That is what the real serious podcasters do.
Nick's going to try it out. He said, I figured I heard you guys talk about it a time or two, so I'd give it a shot. The very next one I listened to right after that was Danny Woodhead, and they started off talking about bonding over coffee. It seriously sounded like they were cracked out on caffeine, going 100 miles a minute because they just juiced up with too much caffeine. Smile laughy emoji. I'm trying not to die laughing while he's finishing mowing. That is hilarious.
There you go. I wouldn't doubt it. Those two together were hilarious. They both go just like, they're both just like 100 miles an hour, like he said.
Yeah.
And then speed them up and too funny.
Unbelievable.
All right. So other than that, the only other thing really is that Jack, my dog, a little Jack update, been doing really well. His wound is all healed. You can't even tell it was there. And that was from playing a little rough.
Yeah, a little
Sorry. That's okay. Stitches came out. It's beautiful. But found out I had some reward points from the company that I would get his, he would get this box of goodies every once in a while. And it could range in like 25 to, you could go $50.
Yeah.
And you get a box of goodies that's got all kinds of the primo dog chews. And I mean, like, we're talking, these are the actual
legit
bones. They're, and they're organic, and they weren't no antibiotics and all that good stuff. And one of his favorite, the bully sticks, by far. The bully sticks are huge favorite. But when you buy them in the pet store, generally they're small, and he could literally put the whole thing in his mouth. And I'm afraid he's going to just swallow it.
Yeah, choke.
Right?
Right.
They were about this long.
18 inches?
18 inches. And they're braided.
Oh.
So it's actually like 4 bully
Jeez.
sticks braided together.
It's a good deal.
It's amazing. But Paw Struck is the name of the company. I'm just going to give him a shout out. Nothing else. But it is, those are amazing.
And he loves them.
It takes him an hour.
And that's an hour that mama has to herself. That's the equivalent of throwing a kid in front of an iPad. Just sit and watch.
Here's your bully stick.
Here's your screen time. There you go. I'm gonna go lay down. Have a glass of
When
wine.
I see those bully sticks, though, it's just baffling to me because there are so many, and you know where they come from,
right,
and there's only one on each animal,
right, right. I mean, that's.
But they're
It is
using
what it
all the
is.
pieces, so I got to give them credit.
Right. No, it's resourceful.
Jack's happy.
But there's,
yeah.
Yeah.
Can't make those in a lab.
No, you can't. No, you can't.
So there you go.
Again, always the worst possible thing to talk about before we segue into Kugler Vision. All the time. We love the fact that they support our podcast, though.
Yes, we do. The thing they've been talking about is getting rid of the glasses and getting rid of the contacts, and she brought up one of the most interesting points I've heard in a long time, talking about your glasses and contacts over your lifetime. So I started wearing glasses in 3rd grade, then wore contacts for a number of years. How many times my prescription changed? I had to get new. Well, you got to get new frames because the styles change.
Right.
I mean, come on. If nothing else, even if your prescription stays the same, you're still going to buy new frames. But essentially, you end up spending all this money to rent your vision. It's brilliant. Total wake-up call when you're thinking of it in those terms. And honestly, when I got mine done, I wish I would have done it a lot sooner.
Right, yeah.
And after you get 21, 22, right in that age, 20, 25, that's when Dr. Kugler says he'll consider doing any kind of procedures because he wants to make sure your eyes are mature. You know, that the
all the
growing
changing
stage.
they can do, yeah.
Right, the growing stages, and we all know your eyes are constantly going to be changing, but there are certain afflictions that can be corrected depending on the testing that they do. They've got 7 different options for LASIK.
I mean, they're the experts in Nebraska, and we're just lucky that they're right
The best
here.
in Nebraska.
Yeah, they are. They are the best in Nebraska.
I have no problem saying that.
But you need to start off with a consultation, and that starts at kuglervision.com. Go in, you can schedule it yourself, you can book it yourself, and and there is a spot in there that says, where'd you hear about just
Yes.
Pat and JT podcast. Pat
Absolutely.
and JT podcast for Kugler Vision.
Please do.
We love it. So you can find our podcast anywhere. We appreciate you listening.
Pat and JT Podcast, a Parkville Media Production.